Shalom, it's Levi Shore. Welcome back to Swing Torah. Alright, so we're about to enter the holiday of Sukkos, the holiday of Sukkot. Chag HaSukkot, the festival of Sukkos, where we live in a sukkah for 7 days, and it's called the Zman Simchasenu, the time of our happiness. So what's the secret? Why is living in a sukkah? How does it make us happy? How does it work? So first, let's start a little bit on a spiritual level. There's many mitzvos, and two of the mitzvos, they do something very special for us. They have the ability to take the negative spiritual energy called tuma and remove it from ourselves, remove it from our neshama, remove it from our soul, and then bring us to a state of a positive spiritual energy called tahara. And then in that state, we're more conducive to receive kedusha, to receive holiness, which is this real spiritual energy that can come into us. So how does the mikvah work? It's very interesting. So we go to the mikvah, if you're a man or you're a woman, if you've never done this mitzvah, I would highly recommend it. So generally, the mitzvah for the woman is to go to the mikvah after she's done her monthly period, her monthly time, and then she'll go to the mikvah. And a man, generally, after he has, let's say, relations, he may go to restore into that positive spiritual energy, or it's a minhag to go before Shabbos, or to go before a Yom Tov, before one of the festival days like Passover or Sukkot, or most people have the minhag to do it before Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. And if you've never done the mitzvah, I'd highly recommend it. So how does it work? It's interesting. So for it to work, a mikvah needs to have 40 seyas. It has to have a volume of 40 seyas of either rainwater or like a natural spring water. And it can't be handled by a person. It has to be directly from how Hashem created the water. So if it's the rain falling from Shemayim, or if Hashem created this natural spring, and it can't be handled by a person. Like a person can't fill up water in a bucket or a pitcher or move it or manipulate it in any way. So it has to be pure, exactly how Hashem created it. And there's very mystical Kabbalah stuff that is connected to the waters of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. So we're not going to go so much into the mitzvah of mikvah, but it's interesting. So when you go to the mikvah, so first you should prepare, and you should remove any chatzitza. You should remove anything that's going to stop, your body having contact with this water. And we cut off excess fingernails, remove the dirt under fingernails, trim off excess hair, and just get ourselves ready and take a shower or a bath and just clean ourselves and get ready for the mikvah. And then it's interesting. Then what we do is we have to strip off our outer garments, whatever it is. And it's interesting. We have to leave it behind. So we have very expensive clothes, or we have not so expensive clothes, or we have kind of average clothes. Whatever state of life we find ourselves in, we have to strip off that external. So it's just us. It's just the essence of who we are, a neshama, a soul, inside a goof, inside a body. And it's just us, and we ourselves alone go into that mikvah, and then you dunk under the water, and it's like being back before you're born in your ima's tummy, in your mother's tummy, and you're just suspended, floating there for a moment. And it's just the negative spiritual energy comes out, and the positive spiritual energy is returned, and you just feel, feel good. You feel full of life again. Whatever was holding you back, you stripped it off. So it's interesting because the mitzvah of Sukkah also has a spiritual power, and we live in the Sukkah for 7 days. That's the mitzvah. So we eat in the Sukkah, and we make this our house. We sleep in the Sukkah, and just as we live in the house, we live in the Sukkah. So what's happening? And the Gemara tells us that the Sukkah also has this power, the mikvah, to take off the negative spiritual energy and restore us to this positive, spiritual energy of tahara. And so just as we dunk in the mikvah, it's interesting, we're fully immersed and we're living in the sukkah for 7 days. So on a spiritual level, we are very immersed into this pure state of tahara. So what's happening on the physical level? So it's interesting because we also have to strip off, just like when we go into the mikvah, we have to strip off what we're wearing, but we have to strip off everything to go into the sukkah, and then we strip off the physical. And then we're opening up to the happiness. So what do I mean stripping off the physical? So we have all these things that prevent us from being happy. Now really, nothing's preventing us from being happy. It's kind of an illusion, because we can wake up every day and we can just be happy no matter what's happening. But it's tricky because we get caught up in all this stuff. Whatever our thing is, if we want to be wealthier, or if we want to be smarter, or if we want to be better looking, or if we want to have a better job, or if we don't have a job, we need to find a job. Or if we're single, we want to be married. Or if we're married, sometimes chas v'shalom, we're fighting with a wife. Someone's fighting with a husband. Or chas v'shalom, a separation, or a divorce, and the pain of it all, the pain of it breaking apart, the pain of the loss of the connection, or the problem having the connection in the marriage. Whatever is our circumstance, we can take these things and say, I can't be happy because of this. I can't be happy because I don't have a better house. I can't be happy because I don't have a better car. I can't be happy because my car broke. I can't be happy because my wife argued with me. I can't be happy because my kids, were fighting with each other today. I can't be happy because, my boss was mean to me, or my employees aren't listening to me, or whatever circumstance we find ourselves in. So Ben Zoma taught us a very special thing. He said, who's happy? He says, the person sameach b'chelko. He said, who's rich? And he said, the person that's sameach b'chelko. The person that's happy with what he's given, what his portion. So what it means is, Sukkah strips away all these physical things from us. And it lets us see clearly that Hashem's taking care of us. This infinite being who loves us, created us specially. And we have all of us have a special purpose in this world. And we lose it because we get caught up in what we don't have. So it's interesting. The Gemara calls it, Masechta Sukkah, it calls the Sukkah, it's the Tseil Amunah. It's this shadow or the shade of Amunah. And what's Amunah? So Amunah is usually translated as faith, which is such like a misused or misunderstood term because of outside definitions of it sometimes. But what it means is when we really feel that this infinite being, that Hashem's taking care of us and loves us, when we really feel that, that's Amunah. And it's tricky because no matter how religious we think we are or how not religious we think we are, there's a lot of times where we don't feel like Hashem's right with us. We don't feel this infinite being's right here, right with us, protecting us, loving us, giving everything we need. We don't feel that sometimes, no matter what position in life we're in. And sometimes we have those rare moments where we do. And we're always constantly striving, and that's why learning the Torah and doing the mitzvahs is connecting us more and more to Hashem and making Hashem more part of our lives. And this infinite God is now more part of our life. And that's the problem with secular society. It strips away all this. But the Torah and the mitzvahs, they bring this all back. And we come out of our house, come out of the physical, and come to the simple sukkah. We're back out here in nature. You can hear the beautiful birds, and you hear the grasshoppers at night. You can see the bunnies running around where we live, and you can see the squirrels, and sometimes we get to see deers, and there's even a fox that runs around from time to time. And you're back out here with the trees and the flowers and the grass. And it's interesting, it's not a time we would choose. We would choose to do it in spring. We would choose to do it for Pesach, for Passover, when it's nice and warm. We're heading into summer. Now we're heading into winter, it's fall. But this is the time Hashem said, come out. This is the time I want you to feel the Inanei Kavod, the clouds of glory, like when we were in the desert when we left Egypt. I want you to feel that I'm protecting you. I want you to see this is not the time you would normally come out of your house. This is the time we're starting to get colder and we're heading into winter. But I want you to feel that I'm protecting you. You don't need a huge, people live in these, sometimes they live in these huge, apartment buildings, these skyscrapers, and they feel so, I remember one time we went to New York for Shabbos, and it just felt so cut off from the world. It didn't matter if it was raining or snowing or hot or cold, because it was just the perfect conditions inside this fortress. And we don't feel part of Hashem's world sometimes in these conditions. People can live in a huge mansion, and they don't feel connected. Sometimes people, so what's the temptation? So we just strip off those temptations of if Hashem gives us a lot of money, chas v'shalom, a person can start to feel like they don't need God, they don't need Hashem. And chas v'shalom, if a person doesn't have a lot of money at all, he starts to feel the temptation that Hashem's not taking care of him, and he needs to steal to get what he needs, and it's horrible. And we're fluctuating. We're all just some of us go through very different times and different circumstances in life. Sometimes we're alone. Sometimes we're surrounded by family. Sometimes we're surrounded by friends. But we can always be happy. And this special mitzvah and this amazing holiday starts to strip away all those things. So spiritually, it just begins to fill us with tahara and strips away that negative spiritual energy of tumah. And it strips away the physical from us and shows us that Hashem's always taking care of us. And we feel that sail of Amunah, that shadow, that shade. The hot sun of the physical world and the hot sun of all these negative influences in the world all the time beating down on us, and we have a relief, we have a shade from it. And we start to feel the Amunah in Hashem, and we start to realize again that this infinite being created us and has a special reason that we're in the world and loves us. And that's why it's our time of happiness. And we should all be able to strip away what's holding us back from being happy every day, and feel Hashem's love, and feel the amazing. And everyone should, if you don't have a sukkah, please ask someone that does have a sukkah. It's an incredible mitzvah, and we should learn simcha. We should learn happiness and joy in this special festival of happiness. And Bizrat Hashem, we should see soon the coming of Mashiach, a melech, a king back in the land of Israel, and leading us and teaching us all to feel happy and feel the simchas of Chaim, the joy and happiness of life, and the simchas of the Torah, and the happiness of the Torah, and the happiness and the Ahavas Hashem, and the love of Hashem, and the love for all the Jewish people, and the Chavas Yisrael, and the love for all the Jewish people. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.